So hot. Cannot believe I can't wait for Monday. What is it?
He's too dumb and silly. Well, you're too serious and dark and not fun.
You two really can't work together?
Are you that surprised we can't work together? Yeah, no way, honey.
Okay. Next movie, you both get your own stories.
Yeah! Now I get to show my strengths without having to worry about other people. Same goes for me.
Now hang up the phone so I can more or less try not to move so much and stay cool. What blind children. The following material is owned by the respective rights holders. In this episode's case, the rights are held by Toei. Hey, please support the official release in any means necessary if possible. Hello there, welcome to Toku Ramblings in the middle of the draining, annoying, sweat-inducing summer. We close out the dry with the Saga films plus all of Drive's extensive media, starting with Drive Saga Kamen Rider Chase. So this is a weird film. I will state that this movie is fine, all things considered. It just has some noticeable flaws. So if you're gonna guess by the title, it focuses on everyone's favorite little robo boy Chase, who decides to help is it sister and brother, or is it mother and sister and brother? After he fails to protect a civilian during a Roidman attack, he chooses to protect her little brother Hiroshi, only to run into the issue that he finds him creepy because he is not very emotive and neither belts on or... God, I need names in front of me. It's so hard. I mean, the scientist lady aren't willing to give it to him. While this is going on, there seems to be sort of a divide in Roid Muse as Roid Muse is giving the other one's new emotions via a silver feather, and of course she comes to Chase to give him. Of course, there's more going on here, and Chase will have to decide between those new emotions or being a hero. Again, I think the best stuff about this is, of course, the focus on Chase. I like that this film, even for how wonky this film handles its tone, it's nice to see sort of more emotions coming out of Chase and showing that the actor can do a lot more when he is allowed to be more emotive and do things like he does. I kind of like that we get to see the original trio of Roy Muse hanging out of bed. Heart continues to shine as the MVP as he stands against the new Angel Roy Muse and Brains. There, he's along for the ride. And Angel, she works fine as sort of a one-off villain, but it's very skin deep. It's very much of choice and self and individualism versus more group thought, which is something that the series has delved into, but she is bad because she cuts off people's ability to fight. So she is the bad guy story because she stands against Roy Muse being individual. We don't get why she wants to do it outside of just giving Roy Muse a chance at survival evil, but she is treated as a bad person because she stands against what our heroes say. And that's sort of kind of an issue here. Here is that my big issue with this film is that its tone is just all over the place in certain instances, because we jump from extreme scenes all across the entire film, from like lighthearted scenes of the main quartet being shocked by Chase's new emotions and just spraying juice all over go later. The stuff related to the cameo I'll get to later has its funny stuff. And then just the heavy, hand-fisted, artsy stuff that goes on later, like Chase being in the crucified pose, and of course the obvious talks about individualism versus group thought. It's so all over the place. It's kind of feels hard to take the more dramatic stuff serious when it's put next to other things. Like Chase more or less having to return to his machine form and terrifying the brother and sister would be more or less more shocking if it wasn't just how out there it is. And I'm sorry, the fact that more or less Chase can't activate his rider form because he's lost his heroic card is... I just hate these. Oh, they can't access it for an extremely weird reason. We haven't gotten to Forza yet, but the whole cosmic states thing is... It makes sense thematically, but I am completely dumbfounded by it, and more or less how they didn't come across that later. And boy, does this film just love its allegories, like Chase just tearing the feather out of him like it's his heart, because it is almost ridiculous in how on the point. Like, there should be a moment of Chase coming to accept that he can't have these emotions and be the hero he has to be. But again, it's just so all over the place again, because the tone just jumps between them, and that's also a fact of the film is sort of split down the middle. So, well, we have Chase's plot, which is going on right now, and then we have Shinosuke and Go's plot going on, which, honestly, is probably my favorite part. So the road they're chasing after ends up on the border of police districts, which turns out to more or less be between them and Futo City, which sees a cameo from Ryu from Double. And it's honestly just my favorite part. Not just because I really, really like Double, but just seeing their interaction and how Shinosuke and Go are terrified of the at least stoic Ryu, who kind of comes off as a little... but just seeing them interact, especially as they fight, is really nice. It is a shame that we don't see much of Double post like Tyson, because Ryu makes appearances here and there, but it is a kind of a shame that we don't see much of them. And here's hoping that Futo PI maybe turns out to be really good. I may watch the manga soon if I'm really interested. But yeah, this is not a bad film. It's in the same vein of like Double's Eternal and Skull movies, in that we get more of some really good characters, but it's very much just, hey, here's more of this one character everyone likes, because this also takes place in the middle of the show and not in a post-world show. It can't really develop much of Chase's character beyond what we have since we still had the main show to go through from this point. He still has a place to end, and more less we can't have much in terms of the development. I would say it's still worth a watch just because I feel the stuff it does is both crazy and just something you have to see for yourself, but yeah, this is not the best thing. So before I get to the main thing, there's one question that more or less is going to be on your mind when going into Heart. Are you fond of Dry's earlier, wackier bits? If the answer is no, then this might be a harder... So, the Heart and... Heart is technically more or less part of the two. Because this is tentatively what the Heart and Mach have sort of a similar device. Go returns to Toku and reunites with Rina and Q to revive his boyfriend, just really close friend, and who happens to be a boy Chase. They more or less attempt to revive him in a new body, but end up reviving Heart, and Brain, and Medic, who are merely just cores inhabiting Heart's body that they all share together. Meaning both of Heart's love interests are inside of him. And this is definitely one of the weirder ones. While they have much to be confused about and vast take for Medic, they more or less find themselves on the job as someone is targeting people which they find that are in relation to Roy. Yes. And they're joined by Lieutenant Oda to describe the truth behind the case. And that's sort of one of the things here. Because this focuses on you're gonna get a lot of that early dry humor of just and I'll give this something that more or less, because it's more outright focused on it, the tone is more consistent rather than all over the place. You can tell what you're getting into when more or less the first scene after his resurrection, Heart is taking a milk after he was forced to by Medic, because Medic is a thirsty woman, and more or less, have you seen that body? That's something at first you... Again, your like or dislike of this is going to come down to how much of zany comedy you are going to here. And honestly, it is sort of a shame if you're not fond of it, because I do feel that this does offer a really solid cap to the Roy Muse story. Again, Heart was probably the most interesting antagonist that I had seen in Toku up to. He was only an antagonist because coexistence was not a thing. The special is introspective of his place in this world, since he has allowed humans to mostly rule over. Over it, and more or less the role they feel they have to take in stopping their fellow brethren from doing it. And some of the comedy we get from Heart, Medic, and Brain sharing a body and what they think of is honestly some of the funnier bits. And it is a shame that Ota and Rina's parts are not the greatest. They're more here for comedy and just the slapstick of, they're married now and they're having that early issues, or Ota's kind of jealous that people are fawning over Heart. Despite that, I think the buddy cop sort of thing they get into sort of works here for them in this specific special. And the fact that, again, it is half an hour and not a full hour, I think works better for it, so it's not overly too much. But the main story is, by the numbers, at least, and the villain itself is more just a threat than anything else that they had to come up over. I like what 5886 represents for just this amalgamation of the baseball forms, and while Shinosuke doesn't get much to do here, sort of acting as this stealth mentor to push the characters in the right way to go is something I really enjoy. You know, he has reached his point of he's finished his character development, and now he's there to help the other characters overcome their sort of issues, which pushes them to fight. And you know, for how kind of ridiculous the heart rider form is, I kind of like that this is the culmination that he is finally. I do. It is sort of a wonky kind of kick bash thing, but where it ends for them, I think, is then a nice kept. Like, they're still around, but it's a solid redemption story, which, despite some shaky comedy things, is a nice cap for Heart and by extension the Roy use, but leaves threats to go forward. And where Heart focused more on the wacky or denser comedic side, Mach focuses more on the serious tone that the series got afterwards. Though I will note that you kind of have to have some knowledge of Drive's extra material to sort of get the most out of Mark's portion, because it does deal in some of it. So Mark is meeting up with the daughter of copycat criminal Koya Nishihori, who he had kind of met during his low point where Chase had come in, and she's on probation for the roid abuse crime she had committed, and more or less was just getting out of jail after 5 years, only to once again have the prime suspect in a murder case that mirrors her father's crime. So now Go has to figure out what's going on in that side of the woods. And again, when I say dark, this special is really like, these cinemas have always felt like they've had the ability to be a little more darker and edgier compared to the show. Again, if you more or less watch Chase, the amount of shirtless scenes is quite surprising. But Mach feels like more in line with the end. It's dealing with themes of depression, disturbing homicides, and a, let's be real here, rather graphic hanging scene right at the climax. Next, it's not the epitome of super dark. Like, it goes as far as a show like this can go without being too terrifying. Kids, and that is most ever like the main, not only tying into like something that's been with Drive since its chronological beginning in the episode 0, which we'll sort of talk at the end. This feels like it's the perfect cap for this era of Drive. One of the first villains the Drive crew dealt with sort of it's not technically him, since the original is dead, but it gets sort of a nice contrast between the two. A sociopathic psycho compared to a mindless monster just doing something. There's this legitimate air of dread and creep throughout it, and I think it's helped helped by a much more muted color scheme and taking place in a lot more darker places, and it's best summarized in both climaxes. Hearts takes place in the middle of a forest, which, well, a bit dry, is still bright and mostly cheery. Mox takes place in this really claustrophobic warehouse, with the only light being a fire burning in the background. There's not much comedy going on here compared to the previous ones. It is very much a focused, dramatic story being told here, and like Sanjo's previous work with Oxo, it feels like the cap to a character arc now that Go is no longer under the shadow of a monster father. He's doing something to reach out to someone, to show that just because you are born from a monster doesn't mean you are tentatively that monster. I think it also helps that the two share a lot of good chemistry that makes them really want you to root for their happiness at the special end. And just the way that Chase kind of, even if he's not fully alive, is able to reach out to more or less be that push for his friend to fight against what is happening. And I do think the whole stuff where the Chase human, well, the person that Chase was based off of, just shows up with his mock equipment, kind of just reads a Deus Ex Machina, but it kind of works in that. Also, it seems that more or less he's just allowed to keep that, even though I thought the whole reason that Beltson was going underground was to more or less ensure that technology was never used again. So I guess the mock stuff is perfectly fine. I do like how more or less after the monsters defeated and more or less we're getting the cool down reality kind of just ensues where alright, Mock assaulted an officer of the law and has to spend a little bit of time in jail. Where they kind of finally get their happy ending. Dang. Honestly, this is probably my favorite of these Saga specials. And this is also just because I do prefer Drive and its more serious side, because you can tell that it's... What's the word I'm looking for? Here. It feels like the perfect wrap-up, not just for Mach, but just for something that has been with Drive since the beginning, the Nishinori. So that's developed through specials and the like. And speaking of some of those specials, it's time to do a quick fire of all Drive's numerous specials besides some of the few I talked about. Fun setup for the movie with a nice show of the personalities of the cars. They don't get much, but it's fine. I honestly think this is probably a better introduction to Drive than the actual main first step. So the dreaded and odds of what's about to happen is really palatable, and it just sets up things a lot better than the main episode, which just feels like it's a little too rushed. This is basically a toy commercial, but it's a fun kind of toy commercial that deals with the greatest threat to any media of all: piracy! Actually, a really solid mystery that delves into some of the characters' past, while also setting up the more dramatic take the story would end up having after the midpoint. It has great twist throughout, and Brain is actually more of a threat here than anything else. But in fact, this was also run by Yuki Takahashi of X80 Run and later Geeks Thing. A good send off for Lou. And not just because I really like the suit, but as a final hurrah for the character as he's dead. again, this is sort of a thing of more or less how much you enjoy fun comedy. It is very much a parody of everything show related, and more or less that might fly over some people's head. And if you're looking for a continuation of Drive story from Part and Mock, this is purely a flip piece more than anything else. That was just doing a April Fool's joke. Yeah, still worth a watch. Though, even if 50-50 of jokes I didn't enjoy. So, yeah. That's it for all this. That's it for Drive in its entirety. A whole 4 videos. Next time, we're going to be covering about the same amount, if not more, because there is just as much extraneous material for this right here. As always, the usual thing: subscribe, comment, and ring the bell to be notified. Like, share it if you want. Then see you guys around.